We got some curry, some Indian food with some rice. Kind of vibey, kind of vibey, kind of vibey. 2020, COVID, it definitely changed my life, y'all. When that pandemic hit, I truthfully thought that it was just going to be like the regular flu or something like that. And, things were just going to pass. But looking in retrospect, I didn't realize how, life pivoting and life changing those moments were. Because I graduated in the year 2020, right? So off the rip, I got my prom, graduation, grad night, all the fun stuff that you told to, wait for your senior year. It got took straight out of my hands. But on the bright side, I got the diploma, right? And you know how everybody says, like, oh, when you go to college, that's when it finally gets fun. That's when you get all this freedom, you make all these friends, right? No. I was dead smack 2020 COVID, hard lockdown. Boy, that shit was crazy. And I remember getting accepted to Cal State Northridge for business real estate. And I already didn't necessarily want to go to college, right? But I was like, whatever. I'm being forced to, and on the lowest key. So, like, peer pressured, rather. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'm going to go. But while I was taking these classes, I remember I was failing this one math class, right? And it was just beating me down to the ground, bro. Because it was just requiring like so much for it just to be a prereq at that, right? So I remember talking to my mom, right? And I was like, I want to like drop out. I want to go to a community college. I want to do something different. And she wasn't letting me, basically. She was like, nope, you're good where you're at. And I just didn't have the balls to do anything different at the time. So I went along with it. But it was messing with my spirit so heavy that I ended up just failing all of the classes, right? And I was like, okay, if I can't just leave, I'm going to get kicked out and not tell anybody. And then I'm just going to repivot, pivot somewhere else, right? And I didn't realize how crazy, that lockdown truly was, because what influenced that was just the fact of how secluded I was, right? Growing up, I was like I came up from like a low-key, like a strict household. So, bro, I barely went out and shit like that. Like, I didn't really feel like I had that avenue to fully express and, come into myself, right? Which was okay. And I thought college was going to be that, getaway, but it just wasn't that. But at the same time that I was in college, during these classes, I've been gaming, right? And I posted my first YouTube video when I was like 12, 13 years old. I swear. The video is still posted on YouTube. And, it's like my spirit was already telling me, yep, go ahead and get ready for that pivot, brother. Go ahead and, just embrace. Because honestly speaking, and I think this is a true statistic too. Once COVID happened, a lot of content creators started, blowing up. A lot of things started going digital. The work from home scene started to be, developed and stuff like that. So it's not at all like this is something that's like new or like, oh, it's undiscovered. But it really just started to really pull my attention elsewhere. Everybody was coming home. People were losing jobs. The only people I'm really see that still, quote unquote, living life was the content creators, right? Because they didn't have to rely on anybody. They were still doing the same things that they were doing, right? Nothing really changed. So I was like, And I've liked my gaming channel, whatever the case may be. I'm going to keep posting my gaming videos, right? Well, long story short, I ended up embracing my camera from gaming, which I feel like most gamers eventually transition, because I feel like gaming is kind of like, at least streaming is an entry level to entrepreneurship. It just opens your mind to the idea of possibly doing something that you love and getting paid for it. And then as you grow and as you mature, you start looking for different avenues that you can do that through, like why I got into like photography, marketing, B2B, B2C sometimes, but I really like B2B. But yeah, it's just different avenues like that where it's like COVID if it wasn't for COVID, I would have went down a completely different path. Like right now, this month, I'm finishing my film school this month, right? So I'm about to get a degree or a skill set in film, while on a completely other spectrum, I was about to get one in business real estate, right? One, and it's crazy too, because when I posted that $100,000 in debt video, people were saying, "Oh, bro, you're crazy for going $100,000 in debt for art. Like, bro, you're idiotic." All this other type of stuff. Somebody even told me to go to the military. Like, hey, yo, I mean, no, no. Don't get me wrong, right? I feel like I need to put my food down for this, right? Business real estate and going to school for business is amazing, right? I grew up in a household where my mother has a master's in business, right? I get it. But that does not necessarily help you make a business, right? A lot of the times you still have to get a product, some type of skill set, develop some type of marketing, some type of brand. It's something else that's not being taught there that I kind of already knew, right? So I pivot, right? It's like, okay, I guess you could say it's more of like a trade because it's visual effects and editing and stuff like that. But it even ties into what I sell in my actual business, what I actually do and help people do, which is crazy because shifting into this economy, bro, people who know how to master content, whether you want to accept it or not, will always have some type of money coming in, right? Because it's like our modern day TV or a modern day billboard, right? Back then, you probably had to dump so much amount of money just to get a properly placed commercial on TV with the right, but like literally, it was so many moving strings that came with that, and people understood that, which made the market kind of competitive. If you didn't have the marketing dollars to do certain things, your product just wasn't going to be shown. But in today's market, bro, now that we have certain things like this, the pool's open and these companies are starting to acknowledge it too. I'm pretty sure you can't name one brand that doesn't have an Instagram account, right? And I don't know if Rolls Royce has one. I know Rolls Royce doesn't even put out commercials because they say the people who's buying Rolls Royces aren't sitting on the TV watching commercials. But I know a lot. It's crazy. I saw that Jack Doherty kid or something like that, right? I was on Rodeo Drive, but it was about like a year ago, right? And I was sitting there drinking my Starbucks, just in my head, journaling, whatever the case may be. And I look over the rail, and I see this Rolls Royce pull up, right? So I'm like, okay, that's kind of normal over there on this Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills. It's not too out of the normal, right? So I just keep going about my day, and then I noticed, these people get out and they go into Starbucks, right? I haven't peeped, who it was or anything like that. I just noticed that it was some young people going inside of Starbucks. And I was like, okay, cool. It was just him. It was one other dude and some girls, right? So I was like, okay. They walk out. They have a drink, right? So I'm watching them walk out of the Starbucks. I'm really like above them, watching it like this, right? So the girl, whatever, goes over the trash can. Freshly bought fucking Starbucks drink, right? Puts it over the trash can. That Jack kid does like some in front of the camera and then drops it inside of the fucking trash can and then gets in his Rolls Royce and then drives off. I'm sitting there like, huh? Like there's certain things you can't tell me don't exist, right? And that's just one avenue of it. There's so many brands and so many creators, because I've experienced and I work with a lot of these people where they're getting brand collabs, they're getting different type of partnerships, they're getting just different type of opportunities, different type of avenues, revenue streams. A lot of people start investing, putting into digital stocks and all this other type of stuff. Bro, the digital space in general is crazy. Even with the tech and AI, right? That space kind of intertwines with the creator economy. There wouldn't be no creators without no tech nerds, right? The ones who's doing the coding for these apps and stuff, and all this other type of stuff. They wouldn't be making the bank they're making if the content creators wasn't on their platforms also driving engagement. You guys getting what I'm saying? It's one of those things where I feel like times are changing. And yes, not a lot of people may not understand exactly what's going on, but as it grows, we're going to understand a little bit more. It's the same thing that happened with Bitcoin, right? I think it's a Nipsey song, Overtime, where he's like, right now is equivalent to the gold rush, right? When everybody was moving to California and all sorts of type of shit, right? He said the technology has empowered everybody. It's whether or not you're going to acknowledge it as an opportunity. When all that gold and all that type of shit was in the West in California, the ones who was like, nah, lying, that's on a flop, and they stayed back where they were at, they didn't get nothing that was right there. The ones who was like, let me see, because if it isn't, then I can just go back to what I was doing, right? But I at least see those were the ones who got a little bit of, you feel me? It's the same, like, it's the same principle, bro. It's not fully developed, right? We haven't, technology hasn't been around and hasn't been ingrained in enough generations for us to truly understand its impact, right? But as time goes on, we're going to see certain things like, oh, bro, the media controls everything. Propaganda is real. The internet is actually very powerful. These things are used for more than just consumption. But, I feel like this is just my reflections, coming after COVID, all of that stuff happening, and then transitioning into entrepreneurship, kind of my creative efforts, building my brand, working with different businesses, other marketers, it's just really opened my eyes to, the different opportunities that we have around us. And it's just sculpting your life, sculpting your image, sculpting your brand to how you want it to be, and then live it out through that. Take that risk. You never know. If it doesn't work, you can always go back to what you were doing in the first place. But why not see? I love y'all.